Hey everyone, welcome to the Inflammation Nation podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Steve Noseworthy.
One of the greatest obstacles to crafting health and wellness is identifying and controlling inflammation. It's at the core of all complex and chronic diseases. And it's the driving mechanism that underlies the most common symptoms that people like you struggle to overcome. Join us as we explore cutting-edge science and research to give you the information and tools you need to create the quality of life you want and deserve. And now, here is the host of Inflammation Nation, Dr. Stephen Noseworthy.
Welcome back to the Inflammation Nation. If you're new here, welcome. Why don't you take a second just to subscribe or follow so that you don't miss where this whole process of podcasting and talking about health and wellness is going. Every couple of years, I pull myself off the clinical hamster wheel to rethink how I look at chronic illness, because as a practitioner, it's terrifyingly easy to get settled into a rut, to standardize your practice into an autopilot machine to process as many people as possible. And that cookie cutter high volume model is great for generating income on the doctor's side, but it's a total failure for healthcare consumers like you who might have complex and chronic issues. And right now, the biggest trend keeping the internet machine spinning is this obsession with longevity. And not that that's a bad thing. I actually do think it's a good thing. But every talking head online is preaching pretty much exactly the same gospel, right? They've convinced millions of healthcare consumers to take a do-it-yourself approach. They spend hours consuming podcasts and webinars and master classes. And suddenly, everyone is jumping into cold plunges and they're forcing intermittent fasting, maybe taking low-carb, ketogenic, and carnivore diets to extremes when it might not be appropriate for them. And they might be strapping on every wearable gadget and gizmo that they can buy, all in the name of stacking up extra years. But I need you to listen to me. If you're throwing thousands of dollars away at longevity hacks, but you haven't identified the basic root cause disruptors that are driving your chronic symptoms, you're putting the cart miles ahead of the horse. Good strategies fail every single day in functional medicine simply because they're the right thing at the wrong time. They have value, but for where your body is right now, they're a terrible fit. And if you haven't spent the necessary time under the core protocols to reach at least 75% baseline improvement, your systems are still trapped in what we might call metabolic reprogramming. Your metabolism has literally learned abnormal ways of operating. It's become negatively plastic, meaning it's memorized its own dysfunction and it's aggressively resisting your attempts to change that back to normal. You cannot out-medicate, out-supplement, or out-hack a frozen metabolic foundation. And all the biohacking shortcuts in the world will only give you a partial, temporary, or minimal results because you're trying to solve PhD level physiological problems with a grade school mindset. Today, we're going to try to stop the DIY madness, and we're going to draw a line in the sand and map out exactly what the first stage of a health journey, what I call the restoration stage, actually demands before you earn the right to talk about or think about employing longevity hacks and strategies. As I mentioned before, I do this every couple of years. I think I mentioned that before, but either way, every couple of years I pull back because it's very easy as a practitioner to get settled into one way of thinking and doing things and to be left behind as techniques and research continue to progress forward, only to find yourself maybe 5 steps behind everybody else. And that doesn't mean we abandon the tried and true, because after all, human physiology is human physiology, and the fundamentals of that are the fundamentals. But how we look at problems that lead to poor health, quality of life, and maybe reduced longevity, and what we do to fix them should change over time. If I'm doing the same thing the same ways 2 years from now, then I'm in trouble, and I'm probably not being the best clinician that I can be. And this phenomena of getting stuck in a rut, it's certainly not unique to integrative and functional medicine practitioners. I might argue that we're probably the ones in the spectrum of healthcare that are the most forward thinking and progressive. And we usually are the first to adopt new thoughts and new strategies before our conventionally trained and minded practitioners or counterparts might. And this doesn't happen only with individual doctors. It happens in medical groups and entire systems and networks of clinicians like hospitals. And one reason for that is that when you have a way of doing things that seems to work, and if you standardize that, then you can duplicate it easily and you can scale it up and you can see a ton of people. And sometimes that's an altruistic goal where someone literally, like their mission is to help as many people as they can. Sometimes you'll hear people saying that out on the internet, but often there's a financial and a business motive behind seeing as many people as possible. Meaning, if you can streamline your operations and you make it flow almost on autopilot, you reduce the time that you spend with people, but you can generate a lot of income because you're seeing more people. And docs who practice this way are very hesitant to change because once you build the machine, you don't want anything to slow that machine down. And introducing or adopting new information or techniques does exactly that. And sometimes docs who do practice like that with a very cookie cutter one size fits all approach, they do come across new information. They do recognize its value, but sometimes they choose to ignore it and not implement or act on it because it messes up with their finely tuned process. Now, I have coached my fair share of doctors who want to get into functional medicine. And one of the first things that we deal with is defining what kind of practice they want. I ask them, do you want a high volume practice or do you want a high engagement practice? And they have to choose because you really can't have both, right? You can't spend a lot of time with people and see a lot of people at the same time. It just doesn't work. They're at opposite ends of the spectrum. And what I mean by this is that if the doctor really wants to serve their community, the more people they see, the less time they dedicate to each individual person, which limits their ability to work to the simplest of problems because complex and chronic illness requires more thought and effort. In other words, it's not always great to go see the busiest doc in your community, if that makes sense to you. I've gotten a little bit off topic, but let me summarize this way. If you have a complex and chronic health problem that nobody seems to have been able to figure out, maybe you are not the problem. Maybe it's a reflection of how your practitioners organize their own thinking about health and wellness, and coupled with how they run their practice. And I said it earlier, I think you can't solve PhD level problems with grade school thinking. So back to what I've been working on for myself over the last 6 months or so, it relates to how I see health problems and, as cliched as it might sound, the journey that people take from where they first ask for my help until they're stable and well. And again, we'll call this, again, cliched, mapping the health journey or something similar to that. And please understand this is my own fabrication. Not that you won't find similar sentiments elsewhere, but I'm very big on creating mental frameworks that help me organize my thinking because it affects how I see problems and how I try to fix them. And I want to share this with you in hopes that it will help you organize your own thinking and perhaps begin to see a path from wherever you are to where you want to be. I know that when you're in the thick of it, it's often very difficult to see a path forward. So this health journey, and we're probably going to cover this over at least 2, maybe 3 different episodes. The health journey, as I see it, has 3 different stages. The first stage is the restoration stage. And this is where we're actively trying to discover physiological problems, root causes is the common way of saying it, and working to restore baseline function. That's the first stage. And that can take weeks to months, depending on the problems. The second stage is what we might call the optimization stage. And this is where we've restored a certain amount of baseline functionality. And our goal in the second stage in optimization is to maintain that progress, but then to build metabolic stability and resilience so that you don't start to unravel and lose the ground that you've gained. And the third stage, the vitality stage, this is where we have a great opportunity to start building longevity and maintaining functional capacity throughout the future. And so to put it another way, the first stage of the journey is dealing with things that are already there. The second stage is to maintain the progress that you've gained over a period of weeks to months. And then at some point, the conversation naturally becomes about your future. So let's dive into the first one. We'll just cover that one in this episode today. We'll leave the others for their own episode. So this first stage in the journey is all about restoring the integrity of your metabolic foundation. This is the stage of the journey where you're focused on identifying these root causes, doing what you can to solve these active problems and overcome major physiological obstacles. And this is where having a plan comes in handy. and where it's really important to not buy into a one-size-fits-all approach. Now, I'm kind of making a little bit of an assumption here. I'm assuming that if you're listening to this podcast, it's because your issues tend towards the more complex side of things. Maybe you've tried some stuff on your own. Maybe you've even seen some integrative or functional medicine providers and it didn't work out. So you need to know that there's a big trend in natural medicine to think things like health begins in the gut, such that no matter what someone's complaints are, the practitioner's rule is they always fix the gut first. Others think that the first and the final answer is detox. So everyone gets a detox right out of the gate. Now, other things, specifically it's parasites. And so everyone gets a parasite protocol. And some others still blame everything on mercury and heavy metals and so on. We could create many different examples. And simplified approaches like this, where everyone gets the same treatment or at least the same first thing, that is going to work for some people. And I guess there are enough mildly unwell people out there that many docs can base their entire practice and process on that, this one thing, and they still get results. But what if you as an individual are not that lucky, right? Maybe you've done your own gut cleanse or detox. And of course, there's different ways to do that. Maybe you've tried intermittent fasting. You've done cold plunges, you've gone keto or whatever fill in the blank thing you can think of, and you still think that it's not working for you the way that you would expect it to. So what gives here? Like this is where the plan that I mentioned earlier comes in. And not so much of a plan per se, but a way to evaluate basic physiology, the foundation of human function, if you will. So instead of you or your practitioner jumping right into a gut protocol or putting you straight into a detox or whatever, it's immensely helpful to do a baseline evaluation with at least a good set of blood labs. But just getting lab data is not enough because data needs to be interpreted. And there's more than one way to do that. One way is using the typical lab reference ranges and a disease-oriented mindset. And this is what conventional medicine does. They use labs to find diseases, to manage with drugs and sometimes surgery. This has little or nothing to do with being healthy and well, unless you grossly misunderstand what being healthy means. Don't let anyone tell you that being healthy simply means the absence of a disease. And just because you don't have a diagnosis and you maybe aren't on medications doesn't mean you're healthy. Nor are you healthy if you take meds to control your symptoms and now you're symptom-free, but the only reason is because you're taking medications. And it does drive me a little bananas when someone says that they're healthy, but they're on multiple medications. That's not health. They're just focused on a lack of symptomatology. The WHO, the World Health Organization, defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And I don't really disagree with that, at least the last part. It's not just about the absence of disease. But I think that the first part maybe is a little bit too bland. I would suggest to you that being healthy is better defined by the presence of metabolic stability, metabolic resilience, and vitality in your core physiological systems. And this is where we see a fundamental mismatch between the focus on conventional medicine versus integrative and functional medicine. Right? They're looking through labs and other diagnostics to find diseases to be managed. We look at the same data, but we're trying to find where you've lost your stability, your resilience, and your vitality. And we want to help you restore that using things like diet and lifestyle and personalized nutritional supplementation. Now, one is not better than the other. They're different, and they operate in different contexts. And it might be a little unfair to compare them. If I break my leg, you better believe I'm heading straight to an orthopedic surgeon and not to my herbalist, right? So it's about using the right tool for the right job at the right time. So in different stages of the journey, you first have to identify and deal with the things that have caused you to lose metabolic stability, resilience, and vitality and get back to an acceptable baseline first. Then you learn to maintain that before you can think about things like longevity, and that's the 3 stages of the journey just in an encapsulated statement. So if you're trying to adopt some of the common longevity practices that everyone is talking about on the internet and social media these days, but you have an active root cause disturbance, then you are putting the cart before the proverbial horse. In some of my past episodes, I've referred to this as the hierarchy of function, which is essentially a ranking or a ranked listing of the most basic functions of human biology, things like perfusion potential, potential, which speaks to adequate blood flow needed to get all the biochemical goodies like oxygen and glucose and antioxidants into your cells. And this means looking for low oxygen promoters like anemias that might be rooted in iron or B12 depletion, or even more complex scenarios like looking at your VO2 max, which is associated with low cardiorespiratory capacity. In this ranked list of hierarchy, the next step would be energy mechanics. You need good energy production, and you need to be metabolically flexible, knowing that your body can switch from burning glucose or fat to ketones on demand as needed. And you also need to be tolerant to things like intermittent fasting and calorie deficits and low carb or even no carb diets. Now, whether or not do these things is not the question. You should at the very least be able to do them or have them as an option, because when you can't, it implies that you have issues with energy metabolism. And there's much more that we could talk about in terms of the hierarchy of the fundamentals. But for now, know that your adrenals need to be intact. Your gut should not be infected or leaky. You need to have a good microbiome and production of short-chain fatty acids. Your immune system needs to be controlled and competent, and you need good thyroid and reproductive hormone balance. That's just a quick run through of the fundamentals. Now, that's not an exhaustive list, but these are the things that I've been teaching to other doctors for almost 20 years now. And it's the starting point. It's a common sense way to sort out someone's fundamental metabolic challenges, or what I just phrased as root cause disruptors. And once you define that, you can then design a targeted and personalized program using diet and lifestyle modifications with nutritional supplements that are driven by your diagnostic results to improve your metabolic control. In complex and chronic cases, this might take 6 months or more, depending on how complex or how chronic and how compliant someone is in making changes and sticking to a plan. In many cases, there are too many issues to fix at once, and so the restoration stage usually has to be broken up into different sub-stages or phases. So for any given person, the stage 1 restoration program might have 3 or 4 different phases, each with its own specific focus point, meaning the thing or the things that we're intentionally trying to shift during that period of time. And as you can tell, that's a lot to juggle, right? Which is why working with a provider who doesn't have a solid understanding of how the journey progresses, who doesn't have a systems and mechanisms mindset, and can't even find your root cause disruptors, who doesn't follow a hierarchy of physiology to fix the fundamentals first, this might be why you can't get traction and you can't get forward progress. But once you do, and once you cross some thresholds where life is just better, there is a natural transition from active problem solving to doing things that help you maintain your progress and build on it. And that is the second stage of the journey, what I'm calling optimization. All right, we're going to leave it there right now. We're going to focus on stage 2 of the journey in the next episode right here on the Inflammation Nation. See you next time. This podcast is for general informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine in any form or capacity. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of the information in this podcast or any materials associated with or linked to the podcast is at the listener's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional and personalized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and listeners should not disregard or delay obtaining proper medical advice when a health condition exists and warrants that. And finally, functional medicine is not intended or designed to treat disease, but rather is a natural approach to support restoring health and wellness. The use of diet and lifestyle modifications and nutritional supplementation is supportive or adjunctive care.